you can actually tie it in another knot. That's a kind of a jacked up situation, right? It still works. I mean, it still has full range. Andy here. I want to talk a little bit about the throttle. I think the throttle is one of the most overlooked pieces on a paramotor. Not only is the throttle important because of the throttle control, but it's just as important for the kill switch on the motor. For that reason, I suggest having the throttle in the dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, keep it in the right, left-handed, go in the left. And that's because I've seen when people put the throttle in their non-dominant hand and they get in trouble, when they have to kill the motor, they actually reach over with their dominant hand to kill the motor because they're more confident with their dominant hand. And I think the kill switch is probably the most important thing on the paramotor, or on the paramotor throttle. And you want that in the dominant hand. Our kill switch is a little different than what everybody else does. Ours stays in the position that you put it for the manual frames, for the manual throttles. So when you flip it up, it stays off. You don't have to worry about pressing it and your thumb slipping off. It's just real easy. You just reach over, flip it, it stays off. And the reason we do that is because we'll see people press the throttle and they take their thumb off the throttle and the motor starts back up off its own momentum. The other thing we like about this throttle is it only takes one finger to operate. So you have your other three fingers to hold the brake lines. Your thumb is free to hold the A lines, but it only takes one finger to operate. It also has this Glock safety on the back. This is, you can't hit the main trigger unless this is engaged. The reason why we do this is if you fall or when you fall and you put your hands out like this, you can't jam the throttle into the ground when your hand's open. So it's just an extra safety. Also, there's nowhere for strings to get caught on this throttle. So that's another reason we do it. And the best quality about it, besides that it's so responsive, what makes it so safe is we found the right combination of throttle cable and throttle cable housing to where it makes this almost impossible to kink the throttle. So I can tie it in a very tight knot, and the throttle is still just as responsive and has just as much range as it did before. You can see right there, I just give it a little bit of little throttle and it moves immediately. It also has full range of throttle. And if that's not good enough for you, one knot isn't good enough for you, we can take it into two knots. As you can see, I'm not too delicate with my throttle because I know it can take it, and it still has well, it's not as responsive. There's a little bit more drag, obviously, because there's two knots in it. But it still has full range. It's just a little bit harder to move. And the reason why this is so important to us, the reason why we're so proud of our throttle being able to do this, is because the main reason people get injured by the paramotor propeller is because their motor accidentally goes to full throttle when they start it up. And the reason that their motor accidentally goes to full throttle when they start it up is because the throttle cable it's not smooth in here, or because they don't have a very tight return spring in here, and it's just not as thorough. So if you take your throttle and you can tie it in a knot and it still works, that's a good throttle. That means that it's probably not going to get kinked over something small. But you get a little dirt in here, a little dirt anywhere in here, or just wearing over time. The way some paramotor frames are set up is there's like a 90-degree turn in here, and it starts to wear into the metal. The wire actually wears into the copper, and then one day it can stick. And if that's when you're starting up the motor, it'll stick, it'll go to full throttle on you. So we designed our throttle to not stick, or to be very difficult for it to stick, to lessen the chances of that happening. So, but yeah, we make these throttles in left hand, right hand, and we also make them in electric start and manual. So.